Excuse me, pay attention to the presenter. You can rename your name, especially to Asus, so we can know who you are. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to online parallel session of the second International Conference of Science Tanah 2024. Right now, you're in room 5 with me, Aulia Rahmawati, SPMP. I'm a doctoral student of agricultural science in 11 Maret University. Today, I'm as moderator and I will be in charge of the session. Before we begin, let me read out some rules for you. So please pay attention. First, each presentation will last for 10 minutes. To the presenter, when there's 3 minutes left, I'm going to inform you through the chat box so you can finish your presentation in time. Second, in this parallel session, there will be 5 presentations that live in a row. Third, we have a question and answer sessions after all presentations have been delivered. Later, I will send you the format for sending questions on the chat box, or you can raise your hand in discussion time. The format to the discussion time is your name underscore your affiliation underscore to whom the question is addressed to underscore the questions. Okay. And the last, to the presenter, if you want to be assisted by the operator to share screen your presentation, you can confirm via chat box right now so we can condition it. We will start the presentation sessions. As I said before, there are 5 presentations in this room. Okay. Sorry. Mm. So, if you want to be assisted by the operator to share screen your presentation, you can confirm via chat box right now so we can condition it. And maybe you can send your PPT. your PowerPoint to the chat box now. Okay. We will start the presentation session. As I said before, there are 5 presentations in this room. Okay. Without any further ado, let us begin with the first one entitled Remediation of Amoxicillin Contaminated Water Using Zeolite from Coal Bottom Ice. The presentation will be delivered by Miss Galuh Yuliani, right?
Yes, thank you, the moderator.
Okay. So, you, Miss Galuh Yuliani, you have 10 minutes to presentation. The time is yours.
First of all, I would like to share my screen first. Yeah. So can you all see my slide?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. I would like to share bigger. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the committee, the moderator, for the opportunity for me to present my research. So first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Galuh Yuliani from Chemistry Department of Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And I would like to present a collaborative work between me and some of my students, Nadia Tresna, Mariono, and also some of my colleagues, Mamun Mola from Monash University, Australia, and also Mr. Agus Piabudi, also lecturer from my university. Okay, so the title of my presentation is the remediation of amoxicillin contaminated water using zeolite from coal bottom ash. We all know that amoxicillin is one of the mostly used antibiotics, right? And the amoxicillin is used by around 87% of patients. And this utilization of amoxicillin has increased very significantly during the COVID. One of the water treatment facility reported that before COVID, the amoxicillin concentration in their water treatment facility is only around 1.6 microgram per liter. During COVID and after COVID, it has whooping to 509.64. So there is a very sharp increase of antibiotic. And we also know that antibiotic is not all of them absorbed by human or animal body. Most of them will be secreted back to the environment through feces and urine. And this can eventually contaminate our soil and water. That's why we need to have a method to try to eliminate or reduce the amount of antibiotics in our water facilities, water effluent, or soil. But in my research, I focus on the contamination of amoxicillin in water. Okay. So one of the technique that has been reported is adsorption. Adsorption is practical and preparative technique. However, we need sorbent materials, and sorbent materials need to be cheap, available, and effective. We also search some of the most used sorbent materials. Some of them are active carbon, and also zeolite. Zeolite has high porosity and high surface area. Zeolite can be available in nature, but however, zeolite can also be synthesized. One of the potential starting materials for zeolite synthesis is coal bottom ash. Coal bottom ash is ash resulted from the coal burning processes in industry. So in the coal burning processes, we will have waste, solid waste, and the solid waste is bottom ash and fly ash. The fly ash has been used by many industry, for example, cement industry as additive. However, the bottom ash is not yet utilized. And bottom ash production each year increased significantly. And we need a treatment and utilization methods for this coal bottom ash. Coal bottom ash has silica and alumina aside from the carbon, but the silica and alumina content is quite high. And silica and alumina is a good precursor for zeolite. So that's why in my research, I would like to utilize coal bottom ash to convert into zeolite. The literature reported some types of zeolite has been synthesized from CBA. And this is the literature. Okay, so my research objective, the first one, I would like to convert coal bottom ash into zeolite using hydrothermal method. And then I would like to calculate the adsorption capacity of the zeolite for amoxicillin removal in water. And then lastly, I would like to study the adsorption mechanism. So first of all, this is the method that I use. This coal bottom ash added with sodium hydroxide and then placed in the Teflon autoclave and then heated for 9 hours in various temperature, 65, 80, and 95 degrees Celsius. And the resulting solid is washed until neutral and then dried for 9 hours in 110 degrees Celsius to remove all the excess water. And then it is being dried and then sieved using 100 mesh siever, and then we will have our zeolite products. The characterization for the zeolite products is using XRD for the crystal phase, and then FTIR for functional groups, SAM-EDS for surface morphology and also elemental analysis, and then lastly the BET analysis for surface area and porosity. Okay, so this is the method actually, and I don't have time to explain further, so probably I will skip this slide. Okay. Okay, the next one after the zeolite is resulted, we use it for adsorption of amoxicillin in water. We use model solution. So the amoxicillin is actually the model solution that we make in the laboratory. So 0.05 gram of zeolite is added to 25 mils of amoxicillin solution. And then we use some pH adjustment so that the pH is adjusted into a certain pH value that we would like to see the effect as well. So there's various pH. And then we shake for 90 minutes at 200 RPM, the speed of the shaker. And then we will have the residual concentration of amoxicillin measured using LC-MS-MS. This is a powerful technique for amoxicillin determination. Okay, and then this is the result, the characterization of coal bottom ash, the FTIR and the XRD. We can see that coal bottom ash has some important functional groups such as hydroxyls, and then carbonyls, and then silica or SEO, and then some vibration of SEO and SEO-SE, AL-OAL, and SEO, and then ALO. This is characteristic peak for coal bottom ash because some of the mineral that is found in bottom ash is quartz, anhydrites, and calcite. So that's why the FTIR also confirm these minerals. Okay, and then this is the SAM and EDS pictures of the SAM photos and the EDS measurement of the coal bottom ash. The coal bottom ash has this spherical morphology, and then some of the element detected is mostly there are lots of carbons and then oxygen, and there is alumina and silica as our precursor for zeolite. Okay, so this is the zeolite resulted from the synthesis that I showed previously using hydrothermal method. So as we can see that some zeolite peaks has been detected using XRD. So this confirmed the formation of zeolite. First, we use different temperature. As I mentioned before, I use 3 temperature. And as we can see, the highest temperature, which is the 95 degrees Celsius, resulted more zeolite peaks. That means that this temperature is the best condition for zeolite formation. This is the literature that we've referred when we compare the peak. And the zeolite is confirmed to be ZSM23 type, which is one of the a good zeolite that is reported has highest surface area. And then the next characterization is we also see using the XRD using various sodium hydroxide concentration. So we have one, which means that one CBA and then one sodium hydroxide, 1.5, and then 1, 2. So 1, 2 meaning that we use 2 portion of sodium hydroxide and 1 portion of coal bottom ash. And as we can see that the best condition is 1 to 2 coal to, fly ash to to sodium hydroxide ratio, and the temperature is also 95 degrees Celsius. So that means that this condition 1 to 2 CBA to sodium hydroxide ratio and temperature of 95 degrees Celsius is the best condition if we see the zeolite peaks that resulted in the XRD. Okay, and then we also see the surface morphology. As we can see before, the fly ash has spherical morphology. Now, upon modification and upon conversion to zeolite, we can see different morphology. The morphology, as you can actually see the needle-like. So there is some sharp needle-like morphology in the SEM photos. So this is also, if we confirm to the literature also reported that ZSM23 has needle-like shape. So that means that the needle-like surface morphology was confirmed for ZSM23. And this is observed more as we move to 1 to 2 sodium hydroxide ratios. And after that, we also measured the surface area. As we can see that our zeolite, this is the fly ash, surface area is quite high. And then zeolite 1 and zeolite 1.5 ratio of sodium hydroxide, the surface area is quite lower. And then the zeolite 2 sodium hydroxide ratio is the highest for surface area.
Okay,
And
so
as if,
Lalu,
yeah,
the time is
yes,
up.
sorry.
The time is up.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Eh,
thank you.
sorry.
I
Yes,
thought you're going to let me know when it's 3 minutes left. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
no problem.
Mm.
And maybe you can write your conclusion of this research. You can read your conclusion of this research.
Oh, the conclusion. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the conclusion that we have synthesized the zeolite 23 from coal bottom ash and the CBA to sodium hydroxide ratio of 1.1 to 2 is the best one, and the temperature for the reaction condition is 95 degrees Celsius. And the surface area is very high for this product, is 400 meters square per gram, and the morphology is needle-like morphology. And then as we use it for adsorption experiment, we can see that the ZSM23 has the very high amoxicillin adsorption capacity, 673 milligram per gram. And this, when we use the model for adsorption, we can know that the mechanism is actually both chemisorption and physisorption occurred simultaneously, meaning that the mechanism is through the interaction with certain functional groups and also through the pores, because the pores is very high. Okay, that's my conclusion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gallo, for the presentation. Now to the other presenter, if you have any questions, you can write in the chat box or you can raise your hand, please. Maybe while waiting, I can ask my question to Miss Galuh.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, from what I got, to know the zeolite characterization, you use ratio zeolite 1.2, 1.1, and 1 half. Uh, and the ratio is between zeolite and sodium hydroxide. So what's
Yes,
the
yes, that's correct.
function of sodium hydroxide to know the zeolite characterization? Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for the question. So sodium hydroxide is actually an important as it works as solvent, the sodium hydroxide solution, and as well to have the condition for the formation of the zeolite. So the zeolite actually already has silica and alumina. However, it's not in the CBA already has already have silica and alumina. However, it's not in the conformation of the zeolite. So using the sodium hydroxide solution and under elevated temperature, there will be some reaction occurring, and the sodium is actually important parts because it can fill in the the charge of the zeolite. So the sodium is actually will attach to the zeolite structure. So it's becoming the natrium to the sodium silico aluminosilicate materials. Okay, about the portion or the ratio, is actually we try several ratio. That's why we have 1:1, 1:1.5, and then 1:2. We try all those ratio according to what's already reported in the literature. And then we also check whether this ratio can have different result in the zeolite products. And it's from our result, we can see that there is variation of the result when we use different ratio of sodium hydroxide. So yeah, so we know it from the literature, and then we confirm it with our experiment using various concentration, so we can choose which one is the best one. Although there are some other, as we can see, increasing sodium hydroxide can increase the zeolite products. However, if we put too many or too much sodium hydroxide, there will be the result won't be good as well, because the main ingredients, when the sodium is exceeding 2 portion, it will be the sodium hydroxide. So we limit to 1.2, 1:2 ratio. I hope that answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Miss Galuh.
Thank you.
There is no one's question again, so let's have a big round of applause for Miss Galuh Yulian.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Miss Aulia.
you're welcome. Okay, let's move to the next presentation entitled Soil Fertility Index in Various Community Forests Plantations in Batuwarno, Wonogiri, Central Java. This presentation will be delivered by Miss Widya Aryani. To Miss Widya Aryani, you have 10 minutes to presentations. The time is yours. Um, Sorry, Miss. You can speak louder.
Batuaro is an area very upstream of the Moscow watershed. And this upstream area of the watershed has the main function as water catchment area, and it protects the area. The function of the water catchment area are clear, requires a good and controlled hydrological process so that the rainwater falling must have a large portion to be absorbed into the soil. And infiltration process, it will naturally take place optimally when the land are cover condition are created by irrigation. And the improper land management cause land degradation and pollution, and the land use in Batuwarno is dominated by a monoculture system. This monoculture system has the advantages and disadvantages. The monoculture system is easier to manage and in efficiency, but it could decrease soil fertility because it could diminish the nutrient in the soil over time and lead to erosion and poor crop production. And studies and study is required as a basis for management for agriculture for cultivation in accordance with and assessment of soil fertility by additional information for website management. And next for the material and methods and study the place in Batuwarno. And there were 5 land use types which are shown in table 1, and there are 5 sampling points with replicants in each land use. Soil were taken from the zone area which around 0 and 20 centimeters, and the soil chemical parameters were pH and soil organic carbon and nitrogen, available potassium, available phosphor, CEC, and saturation. And for the soil fertility calculation, you are using Casimir formulation, and the classification is based on the classification. And for the result and discussion in table 2, it is shown that soil pH were classified as neutral and slightly acid in Ceylon language, and soil organic carbon is mostly low and very low in Ceylon and Exclaim, and the nitrogen level was found very low in Ceylon, and available phosphorus was very low in Acacia, and available potassium was low in all land uses, and PSCC was found in Ceylon, and space saturation was found in other. And after the chemical parameters, we used person correlation, and based on the result, there are positive correlation between soil organic carbon and nitrogen, and there are also positive correlation between potassium with pH, soil organic carbon, total nitrogen, phosphorus, and phosphorus. And after correlation, PCR or principal component analysis were and soil fertility index was determined by PCR result to obtain the soil minimum soil and C used as MSA5 PC where the agent value was higher and the parameter with the highest score and had a correlation with the parameters were chosen to be MSA. And based on this, pH, organic carbon, total oxygen, available phosphorus, available potassium were chosen to be MSA. And based on the calculation, it is known that soil fertility index the land use has the highest fertility. Powers was found in this one, and there were no significant differences between Malvan, Acacia, and Exclaim. soil and also fertility could be found in the salmon, and this could be because salmon has the lower canopy coverage percentage compared to others, and also the salmon has small size of the leaf, so that the soil organic matter produced from the leaf were very small compared to the others. And salmon is also a fast growing plant where the nutrient in soil it could be absorbed by the plant at the development time and producing the low fertility. And for the conclusion, the soil fertility index in Mahogan, yeah, very well high with 0.4. And the soil fertility factor in forest in and desaturation, they were chosen because OCC and saturation are chosen to minimum soil and and the recommendation to increase the saturation could be maintained and by adding organic such as or grass clipping or wood chips, and it could also adding cover crop or crop rotation. And based on the SFA result, where mixed plant fertility index has no significant difference, with the highest index as in the monoculture, agroforestry system was more effective for community forest management. It can also increase economic activity. This is the reference I use in this presentation, and that's all.
Okay, thank you, Miss Widya Aryani, to the presentation. Um, if any question to the other presenter, you can raise your hand. Okay, Miss Galuh.
Thank you. I have one question to Ms. Vidya. Ms. Vidya mentioned about one of the indicator of the fertility, soil fertility is the cation exchange, the CEC capacity. Mhm. Can you elaborate, because this is quite new for me. I'm from chemistry, so can you elaborate how this value is calculated, or how is it measured?
Okay, the question about soil phasing or calculation capacity is uh, soil soil is and in I'm sorry, can I okay so for the capability of the soil to exchange the in soil content is in the clay formation and and so it couldn't be to by the plant and the exchange capacity where there so there could change the it could be released from the fixed solution and it could be absorbed by the plant And for the for calculation, we uh, the um, ammonium acetate where we calculate the CEC where it is potassium and
Mm.
calcium. So and
Mm.
and
Also, yeah, it's using the ammonium acetate solution.
yeah, and
Mm.
it
Mm.
using ammonium acetate solution and
So the soil is stirred or the stirred, yeah.
yes, yeah,
Mm.
it first it's safe to it's safe and we use after that we use the acetate solution
Mhm, mhm,
to the other chemical.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think I can I understand how you measure it. Thank you, Miss Vidya.
Okay, thank you to Miss Galuh and Miss Widya for this session. Because the time is up, so let's have a big round of applause for Miss Widya Aryani. Okay, let's move to the third presentation entitled Estimation of Annual Rate and Spatial Distribution of Soil Erosion in the Tista River Basin using RUS RUSLE model, a geospatial approach. This presentation will be delivered by Ms. Ernie Malinda Buta Butar. Uh, for Ms. Ernie, you have 10 minutes to presentation. The time is yours.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear my voice?
Okay, here.
Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. It's already a slideshow or not?
Maybe you can slideshow your presentation.
Oh, okay. Now it's coming. It's already slideshow or not?
No, not.
Oh, but in my I don't know how to.
But
In
it's
my
okay.
laptop is already slideshow, but I don't know how to
But it's okay.
stop it again. Yeah, this one I think. This one is already slide.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
already.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Ernest Butar from Research Center for Limnology and Water Resources. Today I will present my research collaboration research with Mr. Manik Ali from Bangladesh. So in this case, our study area is in Bangladesh in Tista River basins. We do the mapping soil erosion using Russell models with a geospatial approach. Oh my God. Okay. Soil erosion is a critical environmental issue, particularly in river basins, where it significant impact in agriculture's productivity. That you should know that in these river basins, land cover I 50% is the agriculture area. and its impact to water quality and ecosystem stability. The Tista River Basin, an ecological sensitive and an economical vital region. It faces severe soil erosion challenges due to a combination of natural and anthropogenic factors. This study aimed to map soil erosion in the Tista River Basin using racial equation models integrated with the Google Earth engines and GIS technology. That we know that there is 5 factors there. That's one is rainfall erosivity, and then soil erodibility, slope length and steepness, cover management, and cover conservation practice. These all factors we need to estimate the soil loss, and needs the high resolution spatial data for its factor to generate the detailed erosion of these maps. And in this case, we use the remote sensing data and Google engine to processing it. Why remote sensing? Because it's large coverage, or it's cover large area, so it's very cost effective. Better if we have the field of observation data, but with remote sensing or image from satellite, we can do the monitoring in the long term, because remote sensing data provide temporal resolutions, and with that we can do the rapid response, and we can do the trend analysis. And in this case, the processing from the collecting and processing data, we use the Google engine because it has capability to analyze the geospatial big data. So it's very profit for us, and it's provide a greater numbers of geospatial data sets. So if we open the Google Earth engine, it's provide a greater number of geospatial data set. And very important is its freely accessibility data collections. And its cloud platform. It's meant that we didn't need to install software like ArcGIS or something like that processing it, but we can do it in the in that platform like that. So there is no maintain something like that. Even for the our data, our process, our results, we can do in that platform. And image processing algorithms are supported, so it's you can use JavaScript, something like this. And this is the data set for this case. For annual rainfall, I use the CHIRPS data. It's provide a daily data, and the data set availability is from 1981 until now. And for elevations, I use from SRTMs. The resolution is 30 meters, so it's very good. For NDVI, I use from Sentinel-2 multispectral instruments. The resolution is 10 meters. And for soil data, I use from USDA. And for LUSC, class land cover, I use from ESA. The resolution is at 10 meters. This is my flow charts. So from SRTM, I get the flow direction and flow accumulation raster and slope raster, and then I get the LS vector. And from the LURC data, I get the P value based on the LURC classes, and then get the P vector maps. CHIRP, for the CHIRP data set, I get the annual rainfall distributions raster, and then I generate it for air vector maps. And for the C value, I generate from LC data, and for the USDA soil data set, I get the soil structures and get the key factor maps. And from these factors value, I get a soil loss model ratios. So I get the average loss soil in my study area. My study area is in the Bangladesh. There is first district there's Kurigram, Lamorhat, Nifamari, and Rampur. And this is about my study area. This is the annual rainfall. It's from 800 until 1,400. And for the land cover, it's from the 11 land cover, there's only eight land cover, and it's dominated by cropland. As I mentioned before, that this area is dominated by cropland, is 59%, and then 3 covers. And this is the soil map, so it's dominated by loams types, and then clay loams. And this is the slope. Okay, from the the rainfall, I get the erosivity maps, and this is the soil erodibility. That's greater of K value is, it's susceptibility is greater to soil erosions. So it's dominated. I think I divided for 5 classes, moderate to high, 0.03 and 0.04. And this is for management factor. So based on the LUSC classes, I get the lot of area is dominated by the C value is 0.15. And for conservation practice, I get the value from 0 to 1. And this is for slope LS factors. I generate from the flow accumulation, and the theta. Theta is a slope here in the degree. And this is the soil maps, soil loss maps in 1 year, and the result is from 0 until 150 ton hectare per year. And finally we get the prioritization of the study area based on the soil loss rate. We generate in 5 class: slight, moderate, high, very high, and severe. And it's 29% is a slight area, so it's okay. And 34% is moderate, and 26% is high, and very high to severe is 11%. So so based on this prioritizations, we especially for the policymakers, they can do which area they should do first, like that. And as I said before, is 0.9 the what is the soil loss is from 0 until 150, and the percentage is.
Sorry, Miss Ernie, the time is up.
Oh, okay. This is the last, and this finding is provide valuable insight for policymaker and land managers to implement targeted soil conservation measure, enhance sustainable land use planning, and mitigate the adverse effect of soil erosion in the Tisa River Basin. And the last is this geospatial approach underscore the importance of integrating advanced modeling techniques in spatial analysis to address environmental challenges in river basins effectively. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Miss Arnie. So to take the data from the satellite in remote sensing data, you're using Google Earth Engine, right?
Yeah.
And for the source of data annual rainfall map, what is the source of the data?
What can you repeat it once more?
Okay. What the source of the data annual rainfall map?
Oh, yeah, it's from a CHIPS data set, and it's daily. CHIPS data set is provide us for daily rainfall data. So for annual, just sum it every day in a year. So we get the annual rainfall for every year. It's like that.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ernie. Then, Um, let's have a big applause for Miss Ernie. Okay. So let's move to the next presentation. The next presentation is from Miss Nurul Istiqlal. The entitled is Analysis of Growth and Yield of Local Varieties of Black Rice Using Organic Elicitor's Foliage. So the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, Miss Aulia Rahmawati. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nurul Istiqlal, and the author teams include Mr. Edi Purwanto, Mr. Joko Purwono, and Mrs. Mujirahayu from the Faculty of Agriculture, Agrotechnology, 11 Maret University. Okay, next I will present the results of research entitled Morphophysiological of Local Varieties of Black Rice Using Organic Elicitor from Foliage. And now we are going to move on the main presentation. First, introduction. This research using black rice variety Cempol from Boyolali. Black rice variety is a special rice cultivar with anthocyanin content ranging from 200 to 400 milligrams. And anthocyanin in black rice are found in the pericarp layer, so that it color dark purple. And the next, the growing black rice. Growing condition of black rice that can grow at an altitude of 0 to 1,500 meters above sea level, rainfall of 1,500 to 2,000, and the soil use contains sand, dust, and clay fraction. In the next, the research use an elicitors. elicitors come biological materials, bacteria, fungi, protein, and polysaccharides. Their function is to stimulate growth and increase plant production and improve soil fertility. The elicitor used in the rice come from leaves such as guava leaves, cassava leaf, reedsoot leaf, kapok leaf, and cacao leaf. Eventually, this research was conducted to obtain technology and information on the application of elicitor to improve the physical, chemical, and biological properties of soil of black rice. Okay, next, material and methods. The research was carried out at 11 Maret University Agriculture Laboratory, Greenhouse Jumantono. The research used a complete random black design or CRBD research method containing of 2-factor and 3 replication. The first factor, the elicitor concentration, 0, 1.25, 2.5, and 3.75 milliliter per liters. And the second factor, the application intervals, 4, 7, and every 10 days. Observational variables were area index, typical leaf width, relative growth rate, net assimilation rate, chlorophyll content, number of tillers per clump, and grain weight clumps. The material used are local black rice, seeds of the variety Cempo, undersoil soil, Comer, green manure, Mutiara NPK fertilizer, and elicitor. The tool used is a gallon with an area of 0.200 of 6 meters squared, lux meter, thermohygrometer, and analytic bench. Next, results and discussion. First, table 1, leaf area index and 9WAP with difference in elicitor concentration and elicitor application and intervals. Table 1 show the decrease of the age of 4WAP, the decrease of the Heinz of leaf area index at the elicitor concentration of 3.75 milliliter per liter. The decrease with an interval application with a 10-a-day interval application of elicitor. The decrease of 25%. This is due to environmental factor influence the time and administration, such as like factor and interval application. Meanwhile, at the age 9WAP, there was an increase in leaf area index, the elicitor concentration of 1.25, 2.5, and 3.175. This is due elicitor is considered a biostimulant because it improves the growth, pace, plant physiology, and improve plant nutrition. And next, table 2, typical leaf weight. Based on the table 2, at the age of 9WAP, there is a significant difference from the concentration of elicitor. However, at an elicitor concentration of 3.75 milliliter per liter and intervals of 7 days, there was a decrease. Next, table 3, relative growth rate with difference in elicitor concentration and elicitor application intervals. The relative growth rate is a physiological indicator of black rice measured on the basis of the dry weight plant age for N9WAP. Based on the results of scale analysis, the elicitor application intervals have influence on the growth rate of the relative black rice. Based on the table, the elicitor concentration of 1.25 milliliter per liter increase the relative growth rate by 12%. But there is a decrease in the interval application 7 days once of decrease elicitor by 28%. Next table 4 net assimilation rate with different in elicitor concentration and elicitor application intervals. The elicitor concentration of 1.25 milliliter per liter with 7 days once application intervals increase the net assimilation rate by 0.018 gram per meter square and day. This is due assimilation rate is related to photosynthesis. This is because leaves to receive more sunlight are able to produce photosynthesis compared to protect leaf. Next, table 5, chlorophyll content with different in elicitor concentration and elicitor application interval. The chlorophyll A with a combination of 1.25 liter per liter elicitor concentration with 7 days once produce the high chlorophyll 135 microgram. This is due the provision of elicitor show an optimal response to leaf color because the resulting leaves are greener. Based on chlorophyll B analysis of elicitor concentration show a real response, but at an elicitor concentration of 2.5 milliliter per liter experience the highest decrease of 59%. And total chlorophyll analysis saw a significant effect on the application intervals. But the highest decrease occurred at the 7 days once application intervals on by 31%. This is due intervals application and elicitor concentration effect chlorophyll content because it is related to environmental factor, temperature, and light are not the same at the time of action.
Sorry, Miss Nurul, the time is up.
Okay. Next, table 6, number of productive tailors. Table 6 show the application interval has a significant effect. However, the elicitor application intervals of 7 and 10 days decrease by 1% and 21%. The right interval of organic nutrient application plays an important role in the vegetative and generative phase of the plant. They will affect the production of black rice produce.
Sorry, Miss Nurul, the time is up. Okay. That was really nice. So now discussion time in 3 minutes to the other presenter. If you have any question, you can write in the text box or you can raise your hand. Okay. I have a question for you, Miss Nurul. What the elicitors that you use in the research?
Can you repeat your question?
What the elicitators that you use in this research?
The elicitor that I use for this research were made by myself from various types of leaf, uh, many leaf. So I use were made by myself for elicitors.
Maybe you can uh, explain what the various leaf that you use. Still unmute, Miss.
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Okay. Maybe you can explain what the various leaf that you use.
Various leaf, various leaf such as cocoa leaf, guava leaf, kapok leaf, and red shoot leaf, and so many leaf.
Okay, thank you. Maybe
Thank you.
there is other question for the audience. Okay, maybe there is no question again. Okay, maybe we can take the picture first together. So Miss Sabila Hansa, as an operator, please be ready. So I want everyone to turn your camera on. We're going to take group selfies. Give your the best smile. Miss Sabila Hansa, you ready? Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, thank you everyone for joining the parallel session of the Second International Conference of Science Tanah 2024.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, you're welcome. Um, there is other presenter today, but I think the other presenter is not ready and still in the other room. So if there any mistake, I apologize to this session and to the presenter here. To Mr. Joko Purnomo, you ready to presentation?
No, no.
Oh, Okay. Okay, sorry, sir. So maybe the other presenter, this session is end up. And thank you very much for joining this oral session of the Second International Conference of Science Tanah 2024. Thank you. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.